Hey everybody, we're live, and I want to apologize for the other stream and explain what's going on. So um, let me take it from the top and hope you're well. Um, a lot of complications here, and let me work backward from where I was. I was just on a combination call with two members of the NAACP in Oakland. I brought them to talk with Alameda County Registrar Tim Depuis. And the the upshot of that was I called them because Tim had told me that he met with 6 groups this morning, and none of the groups had the $21,000 that he mentioned was needed to start a vote count. And so I thought, wow, let me get a hold of the NAACP, to find out what was going on here. And so, to that end, I called Cynthia Adams, and she put me in connection with her colleague, Dr. Whitehurst, I believe. And so I said, and in that, what they said to me was that they, rather than my impression from Tim that they got, they had 6 days, right, to respond and get money in to pay for a recount at $21,000 a day, all right, that they really only had 1 day. And the bottom line is we're talking about a group of seniors, all right, a group of seniors that don't have that kind of money, okay? And we're at a loss to figure out what to do. So George Holland, who's the current president of the NAACP, went into one moment. Anyway, Mr. Holland went into to get or try to get there it is. In to talk to Tim and get the county. He said he wanted the county to pay for the recount. And Tim's lawyers were saying that's not something they can do. They have to follow the election code. Now, I haven't looked at the election code myself from the perspective of a recount to determine exactly and by case law how problems like this are solved. So apparently Tim talked with his lawyers, okay? One moment, please. Okay, I'm back. All right, so I've got this going. What I was doing is I was trying to adjust this. Okay, so there it is. And I've had this one of these buffering days, okay? So let me turn, that's what should have heard the first time when I had everybody else on. But maybe it's a good idea I didn't, given the fact that I think everything happened so fast, and a lot of conversations were had that probably should have been more on a private line. And well, technically, as I think about it, that's exactly what happened. But you can see the fact that I was talking to somebody. So, and there is evidence of that. So now that there's evidence of that, let me tell you what transpired. And now that I have this going, let me tell you what transpired. Okay. The NAACP is having a press conference next week to discuss next steps because they were essentially blindsided by the process and had less days, and then they then I was originally eh, led to think they knew they had with respect to the county's outreach. Understand? And so, understand? Okay. And so, they're a group of black seniors who are frustrated with the process, the lack of information, and all the other maladies we've heard about. And now there's this feeling that, hey, the county didn't give us enough time and they didn't tell us about this $21,000 cost. And where does this $21,000 cost really come from? All right. And so I tried to bring the two groups together and on the phone. So the live stream prior to this one, where the one that you can't hear, that's me talking with them. That's me with Tim was on the line, he was good enough to pick up. And with Cynthia Adams from NAACP, she is the incoming president. George Holland is the current president. And then Dr. Ali Woodard is the deputy, NAACP deputy, if I have her name correct. All right. And I contacted them. And again, what they told me is that they were under the impression they were given basically 1 day's time to respond to everything. And they have other things going on in their life and all that. What you're dealing with are citizens who are acting less on organization and more on emotion. And so it should come as no surprise that, well, they were caught off guard. What Tim said to me is that they, being the Alameda County Registrar of Voters, is working on behalf of the city of Oakland. And so it's ultimately the city council's call. This is what Tim said. The city council has to decide if it wants to spend the money to have the recount done. That's what he said to me. And that sets up an interesting possible scenario. Because I personally think when Tim says he's going by the law and what the law says, I haven't looked at the law, but I know that if you really want to get something done, you'll figure out a way to do it. And there was a lot of gatekeeping here, which indicated to me some foot dragging, or the desire to foot drag, but only on the basis of finding a legal statute that backs the foot dragging. Okay. And that's what we have here. That's what, frankly speaking, that's what good bureaucrats do. All right. But you've got a group of black seniors who are mad as a Mad Hatter and are organizing to take action. And again, they're having a press conference. I'll find out the exact date of that. I encourage them to not have it just in a bricks and mortar fashion where you show up to an address. I encourage them to use Zoom as well so that people remotely like myself could not only tune in, but also broadcast it, right? But clearly there is a problem here. And I have to look at the election laws again and have someone on to find out how this matter of someone having to essentially pay to play is what it is. Paying a lot of money to have election recount done. That is very uncomfortable from my eyes. To have that system set up there and say, well, okay, it almost sounds like the mafia. You don't have enough money? You want to have this done? Pay me, right? Blank you, pay me. You know, gotta have money for your kids? Blank me, blank you, blank you, pay me, right? If you want to get this recount done, I don't care what your other problems are. Blank you, pay me. That's what it's. That's basically what it is. All right. And so concerns and anomalies are left just hanging out there, not addressed, because the registrar can say, "Hey, look, you didn't pay us," and it really ought to be the public that does the paying. I mean, the government, not the private sector. There's something about that that feels legally uncomfortable to me. Legally, as in, I feel like there's some law being broken here, but I can't prove it. And if there's not some law being broken, there ought to be a law in place to be broken. Okay. But I want to thank Tim for allowing me to put him on, right? Again, you didn't hear him, but this is what had happened. Uh, so Tim put out on social media through his staff the reasons, okay, that this call for a recount happened. And I'm actually going right now to, here's Alameda County Registrar of Voters. And this is what they have right here, folks. This is what they put out right there. Boom. It reads, the manual recount of votes for the City of Oakland Mayoral contest in the November 8th, 2022 general election that was scheduled to commence on December 16th, 2022 at 9 in the morning at the Registrar of Voters office was forfeited due to non-payment of deposit as required by election code 15624. Now, they don't spell out what that reads, okay? So it reads public notice of recount forfeiture. It says the usual recount of votes for the City of Oakland Mayoral contest on the November 8th, 2022 general election. I think it's the seasonal recount, seasonal recount that was scheduled to commence on December 16th, 2022 at 9 a.m. The Registrar of Voters office was forfeited due to non-payment of deposit as required by Elections Code 15624. And if you have any questions, please call 510-272 and 510 there. You can read that 510-272 6933 510-272 6933. Okay. And so that's where it lay. And so right now you would say it's certified and done, and Shane Tao is mayor-elect, but you have a group of black seniors who are not leaving it to that. They are not leaving it to that. Now, the other question is, what does, and this is the other big question, what does the election code say? What does the election code say? And I'm going to go and look that up right now and then start a new live stream to report that to you. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnowblog.com. That is this broadcast.